Your inner child is something, it is part of you that kind of always is screaming to get acknowledged. And I want everyone to see the really gritty parts of what that means when your inner child isn't cared for, and kind of having that, kind of being a raw nerve, but also trying to keep it together. So it just kind of felt like really easy to step into her, and stepping out of it was a little hard.
I wanted to start by just saying South by Southwest was your premiere, and that was like exactly a year ago.
It's crazy. How has the last year been? Surprises? What's it been like?
It's been beautiful and overwhelming, and just, it's amazing seeing audiences respond to them and respond to the film. And we've been all around the world with the film. The film's sold domestically and internationally, so I've gotten to meet a lot of people and really see how the film is crossing cultures, which is really, really amazing,
That's awesome. Yeah, what about for y'all?
I mean, I think it was like such a small cast and crew. We were all like really invested in this film. So I've had this like kind of this care for this film that I'm sure we all do, where it's like almost like so vulnerable and such a part of us that we've like performed, and thankfully Tracie casted us and God chose us to like make her vision come true. So watching people feel affected by it has meant the world to me. I mean, it's a story that's very close to me, and I think that it's very wonderful to know that other people also feel the same way, and it's not something to be embarrassed about, or that it's something that's rare. I mean, people have issues with their families and with abandonment and all that. So it was really cathartic and just great to like watch it and just be like, oh, people like it. Cool.
What about for you, Lolo?
The thing that's like kind of been trippy is just how many awards that we're winning. Like, honestly, like obviously I knew that the film was fantastic from the script, right? Like, I'm just going to be very honest about it. But like when you see how it comes together, and like Barbie was saying, just the response and everybody responding. And it was like every day Tracie was at a different festival and she was like, we won. And she's texting, she's like, we won this, we won that. And I'm like, God, we are killing it in these streets right now. So it's been just amazing to watch, to see the response and the people responding to the trailer online, and everyone's like, oh, I'm already crying. And I'm like, oh, you guys have no idea. It's about to get very real once you hit the theaters on March 21st.
That's awesome. So we know it's a true story, of course, but I'm curious, just about how you developed this based on your own reality, and how much of, you is in Lily, and how if you made any changes or kind of evolved that character beyond yourself, how you went about doing that.
Well, we say inspired by, not based on, but it is a fiction. It's a work of fiction, but it's inspired by a real situation that happened to me. My dad, who is not that dissimilar from the dad here. I'm still working on that. It's a process. But he was angry with me. He wouldn't call me back, wouldn't email me back. And so I put his name into Facebook and accidentally friended another man with his name who was kind to me for not a few months like the movie, but 9 years. The real situation was 9 years. But I didn't need to make the movie that long because no, sorry, I didn't need to make the movie take place over that long. But because he had changed my life in a couple weeks, probably, So it doesn't take 9 years to change someone's life. You can do it in a day, And so when I was working with these incredible actresses, and I'm so lucky, I feel like we put our own situations, and it's kind of like a Venn diagram. Like, here's my experiences, here's their experiences, and then where they overlapped is kind of where we found these characters. And I feel like Lily is kind of our shared experience,
That's beautiful. I'd love to hear from you all about your characters. I mean, I really think, to me, the most striking thing about the film is just how real the characters feel, and how much you've managed to like kind of avoid pathologizing them in a way. Like we see their flaws so fully, but it doesn't feel like it's about, kind of making a show of it, so to speak. So I'm just curious about, reading it on the page versus putting it together.
Sure. I think when I read it, I was very moved. And when Tracie and I started talking to each other, we went to breakfast at this diner often. We talked about our experiences in life and where we are now, and kind of just having these like therapy sessions with each other, and really finding out that we have a lot in common. With Lily, I think what really came to me was kind of like what I think is so important about my experience with having family members that abandon you, or it's like your inner child is something, is part of you that kind of always is screaming to get acknowledged. And I wanted Lily to be kind of, I wanted everyone to see the really gritty parts of what that means when your inner child isn't cared for, and kind of having that, being a raw nerve, but also trying to keep it together. So I really wanted to, obviously honor the story and make it as real as possible, and make sure that Lily was multidimensional, and she's lonely, but she's funny, and she does. It's just the character of Lily is such a it's a privilege to play, because she just offers so much, and I got to really explore it while we were doing it in Kentucky, and all the waves of like emotions would just come in naturally. It wasn't really something that we super planned out, so it just kind of felt like really easy to step into her, and stepping out of it was a little hard. But it was it was just like an incredible pleasure to play her, and it was just like the best part of my career so far. So
for Daphne, the number one thing that I loved was that her character wasn't, like, her whole story of who she wasn't based on the fact that she had a disability, that it was really about her relationship to Lily and us growing, although individually, but at the same time, unbeknownst to our character's knowledge, right? So that was the biggest thing for me that I really loved about the character. And then just also, Lily, Daphne kind of being like a little bit of a jerk, but but like, just like a little bit of a jerk, but intentionally, because a lot of times with characters with disabilities, it's always this like angelic representation of this infantizing of who we are, and Daphne just was not that. Like, she had her own personality, and she was very warranted in the way that she responded in so many different situations. And so I love just being able to like explore that side, and then having the arc of when she softens up with Lily and being like, hey, like, I actually really want to be friends with you. And just her working through her own like internalized ableism and all of those different moments. So that was the thing that really like struck me about the character, and wanting to be able to see that happen like from beginning to end. So it's just beautiful. I just love Daphne.
Yeah, I'm curious, Barbie and Lolo, for either of you, if there were any scenes that you felt kind of like, okay, what is she doing here? Were there things that you got right away, or moments that you were like, I need to understand this a little bit better? Because I feel like you've really struck a balance in the writing of like having them be sort of, they're reactive, but again, it just feels like people are saying, like what we want to be saying to each other more often.
Yeah, I think, so for me, I think finding, wait, Lolo, you go first. You go first. Okay. I'm talking too much. Lolo, you go first.
Okay, can you like maybe like rephrase it just a little bit?
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to.
I just wondered if
it's giving holding space right now, and I'm just trying to figure it out. Okay,
we're all holding space.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're holding space for Divine.
Yeah. I was just wondering if there were any scenes that you were like particularly like daunted by, or that you were especially excited about, moments that you were like, wow, because you were just saying, oh, she's a little bit of a jerk. Was there a moment where you were like, why is she doing this? Or
yeah, you know what? And I didn't realize it until watching the final cut, is when the toilet overflowed, and then Lily comes in, and I'm like screaming, Lily, oh my God. And then she gets me in my chair, and Lily's like, oh no, I got it. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then I just leave. I was just like, that's so rude. Girl, at least pass her the towels. What are you doing? I just like, every time I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so mean. She's so mean. But that was one of the scenes that I was like, damn, Daphne, dude, like, you could have done better. You could have showed up for Lily so much better. But again, it was like still that point in the relationship where, I just didn't know no better. Like, as Daphne, she just didn't know any better. She didn't realize like that's what was happening. And so that was definitely one of the scenes that I was like, damn, Daphne, do better, girlfriend.
Okay, so For me, the scene that I think I had a hard time, kind of not hard, because I think a lot of the script, which was really wonderful, was that this is the first time in my acting career where something that is written just on the page really affected me so emotionally that I didn't really have to, kind of get in my head about showing emotions or getting in my head about making it right. In fact, I think it was such a feeling movie, and I've never experienced that before, where it's like it was so much about just like what my reaction was as Lily, because we have such similar kind of, not the exact same, and we definitely have different personalities, but it's like, from this kind of inner wound that would come out, and I think it really taught me a lot about myself. So I think the scene, I always say this, but the puppy scene was not supposed to be that emotional, but for some reason, every time we would read that scene, it hit something in me. And so when I was preparing to do the scene, I kind of was like, I have this like idea for it. It's not really exactly what I think, like it's not what's written on the page exactly. I mean, it was still an emotional scene, but when we went for it, I mean, Tracie had like let me kind of do my thing, which was incredible, and she wasn't like, girl, we need to like move on. You know what I mean? This is not, and we actually worked around it. So like instead of, there's other like kind of emotional heights, I don't want it to keep it so much at like a 10 all the time. So we really worked on making the story something that like we really earn at the end, and something that it doesn't feel like it's just like kind of just so tragic that there's no hope, and it doesn't seem like a person feels. I feel like Lily, like, she laughs at her own pain, she also cries at her own pain, and it was kind of picking the moments that made sense for that. So that's the long answer. I talk a lot, so that's why I'm trying to talk less.
You're here to talk. Tracie, can you tell us about the legend John Leguizamo and getting him in the film?
Yeah, absolutely. He was incredible. I mean, he is actually very similar in a lot of ways. I think he's the nicest guy. He's just. I tell a lot of people I wasn't casting actors. I was casting hearts in this film. I really feel that, and I feel that, all of us, these hearts are just perfect for this film. And so I saw a clip of him being interviewed. It's kind of like this, and he was talking about why he did Latin history for morons, and he was talking about his son being bullied. And he started crying in the interview, and I just videoed it with my phone. I sent it to my team. I said, "This is it. Whatever it takes. Like, this is it." And he's a very busy person. So luckily, it took us a while to make the film. So he actually was available when we made the film, which was lovely. But it's the minute I sat down with Barbie, the minute I sat down with Lolo, the minute I sat down with John, it was like meeting an old friend. Like it's like we'd known each other our whole lives, and it still feels that way, and so he's just absolutely incredible. He, being the veteran that he is, in the edit room, I saw a lot that he gave me that I didn't even realize on the day, so I was, I worked very hard, I prepared, but sometimes I'd be like, darn it, to Anisha, our editor, I'd be like, I wish I'd had that thing, and she said, he gave that to you. He gave that to you. You have it. It's in this take. And I said, oh, thank God, Wow. Yeah. So
just different reactions or different ways to
little things.
Use it?
Little things that would just, that are really, really special in the film that I wasn't really planning, that he just, there were so many gifts. And you hear these stories about how directors have to cut around an actor, and I was like, what is that? I didn't have it. I was like, we had so much gold. It was like we could have made 10 good movies out of the footage we had, So they're just all awesome. Yeah.
Maybe because I am the daughter of a scrapbooker. I am like I love Jeannie. I'm like very into her. I wonder, was she specifically based on your Bob's wife?
No. So I had my childhood best friend Jamie, her mom Sandra, who's our scrapbook consultant, and Rachel Bay Jones and I did a Zoom with Sandra, a very long Zoom where we saw every room and every piece of art. And her, it was a great Zoom. Every book, yeah. Sandra, thank you. Yeah. She was a scrapbooker growing up, and I felt that, I felt like my dad didn't really save my childhood photos. He didn't cut them out like that, but he just really didn't save it. He actually gave them back in a garbage bag, if I'm really honest, but Sandra, she would take her family's photos and put them on this acid-free paper and save it forever. And it was just so beautiful. And I remember my friend Jamie be like, she's scrapbooking again or whatever. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is amazing. And I remember the feeling because there were some photos that of all of us, and I wound up in their scrapbook. And it was such a beautiful feeling as a young person to be like, I'm going to be saved in their scrapbook forever. And I think it affected me so much that that's why it wound up in the film.
That's awesome. I love that. I love to see the scrapbookers represented.
Yes. It's a huge industry. It's huge.
Yeah. I wonder also, I mean, I feel like I did read a few reviews and like listen to some interviews, and I do think people love to talk about like the feel goodness of it and the fact that everyone goes into a movie expecting dark things or something now. Like, like there's so many moments where I wonder in development if people were kind of pushing you in that direction or asking why there wasn't some of that, or what has your reaction been to like thinking about, well, I mean, I don't think we need to make things harder for Lily, but
please no.
But it is amazing that people keep saying that, and also that she is having a hard time. Like there are dark things happening.
Yeah, I feel like the characters are really the light in the darkness here. We don't shy away from the darkness. There's major, loss of a child, probably like major childhood trauma. Dealing with a disability and coming to terms with that. So I feel, and obviously French Stewart's character dealt with something as a child too. So everybody is really dealing with something, and nobody pushed us for it. But it might have been the fact that we were just making it ourselves, so we didn't have to listen to anybody, And I have a gray hair under my bleach now, so I call my Bob Trevino grays, But I, we had a great team, and we really were, Edgar Rosa and Sean Mullen, and they're the best.
Give it up for the producers. Yeah. Very important.
So nobody really, we were on the same page, and we didn't want to make a toxically positive movie. This was not about like just everything going right. It was about, what I think there was one review that said that that Bob Trevino doesn't wallow in its character's misery. And I'm just going to slaughter this quote, but it's something like they don't wallow in its character's misery, but celebrates the beginning of their healing. And that's really what this movie is to me. It's saying like we've all been through things. We're all a little broken, and we need each other, and we can help each other heal.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we have. I mean, being film independent, we have tons of emerging filmmakers always watching these, and so, I love to get a little bit of insight on. You're saying you made it yourself, and I know how much work that takes, and I wonder just. What do you wish you had known maybe when you were, first going from, okay, I've got the script. How are we doing this?
I think, I was kind of early on trying to do what I think other people wanted me to do. And I was maybe going 80% my own voice and like 20% playing it safe, And I think this movie, I went 100% me. This is 100% me. And for better or worse. And I think if you're going to risk everything, do it for something that really matters. Do it for something that is really your truth. And if you're afraid, that's okay. If you're afraid, do it. That means you really need to do it, because there are other people that are going to be stopped by their fear, and they may need to hear this story because it's their story too. So I think in not waiting for permission is one I hear a lot, but it's really true. Nobody is going to knock on your door and give you $1 million. We know that very well. So you can knock on a lot of doors, and but yeah, there's you can't wait for permission. You have to give it to yourself. Give yourself permission to be fully yourself and tell your story. Yeah.
Great advice. Yeah. I wonder. I mean, I'm curious. I feel like along the way of presenting this film, there must have been people who have told you stories about surprising relationships in their lives, or so I'm curious about those, or about any of your surprising relationships, if this reminded you of anyone that or any I don't know, situations in your life. I just feel like these kind of relationships don't get talked about.
People were crying.
I have heard a lot of stories.
Yes.
Yeah. But they're also beautiful. Like, people are coming up to me, they've been affected by the movie, and they're telling me the things that they've gone through, and maybe it's their spouse, or maybe their step-parent, or their mom, or an ex, but somehow they've dealt with some, or maybe they were adopted, or maybe they're in the trans community and they're not being, their family's not accepted. Everybody has known what it feels like in one way or another to feel like they don't belong. and everybody belongs. That's the point of the movie. Everybody belongs, and there's chosen family for you no matter what. You know, if you're not lucky enough to have it with your biological family, there are people out there that want to love you. You do belong, and so that's. But I've heard so many stories. I was just saying I think I'm gonna need some extra therapy. Yeah, it's beautiful though. The most beautiful thing is that my story is not just my story. It's everybody's story. So it's our story now. So sorry to hog the mic here.
No, that's
okay.
It's your film. I am curious for Barbie and Lolo about kind of how you talked about your relationship, the characters' relationship, just because I think I loved seeing like a caretaker and a client and also two friends. And, I feel like there are like lines of like status, and I love that there's a conversation about that. But I wonder if you all talked about that and kind of how you approached, like, this is a person you're working for, and this is someone that you've hired to live in your house, but also you're becoming friends. And yeah, I wonder how you all approach that.
Yeah, I think where I came from from Lily's perspective, I think that she has a really hard time making friends and opening up, and I think also has a hard time accepting that people might want to spend time with her, so she might not even put herself out there and kind of gets in the way of herself. And so I don't even think that it really strikes Lily that this friendship could actually be something that like you would want. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think that was kind of like the beautiful thing throughout the movie, is that you continuously showed up for Lily. Like Daphne was always there for Lily, and that was really the kind of the acts that really are about what people like, when people are they love each other and care for each other. That's what they do. So for me, it was coming from that perspective, and I'm curious about your perspective. I don't think we've actually talked about it. We kind of just naturally.
I was gonna say, like, we naturally just like clicked and immediately knew how to interact with each other. I mean, for me personally, I've had situations where I've had to have like in-home aides or someone like staying with me. I've had friends like legally be my caretakers, through like my college years and stuff like that. So it was a very familiar way to relate to Lily for me, because I've had that experience of it being friends. But that line does get blurred a lot of times between, okay, I actually need your help taking care of me, and you not be my friend right now. Because sometimes with those relationships, when they are close to you, people forget. So they start getting a little lazy with the responsibilities, because it's like, oh, well, I'll go over there when it's time. It's like, no, this is still technically your job, And so I think with Daphne, in her case, she was more new to disability. So for her, she didn't know how to all the way relate all the time. She knew how to relate because she was the popular girl prior to her disability, and being able to be like, yo, Lily, I need you to relax. Like, chill out. Like, she knows how to be more interpersonal with it. And I think that's where a little bit of her kind of being a jerk comes from, because she's still not recognizing that this is still like an in-home aid and client relationship as well. So that's kind of just where I came at it, and with every scene was trying to be like, okay, how does someone new to disability, new to this situation, respond or react, but is still battling with internalized ableism. So she's not like fully accepting of her disability all the way yet. So how do we navigate that? Oh, it's through her fashion. It's through the way she's still wearing her hair. It's the way she's like, Lily, chill out. Or I made memes of your dad. Like all of those different things,
Oh yeah, I love those memes.
Yeah, all of those come together. So for me, that was kind of just like where I came at it. But luckily, working with Barbie, it was super like, we were in there, two peas like a pod. Like, two peas in a pod, that's the saying. I was trying to figure out what the saying. I was like, is it two peas in a pod?
I like two peas like a pod. That's great. We're going to wrap up in a second, but I have been wondering something since I first watched it, which is, what do you think Bob Layman would say about this?
Yeah. So I think about that a lot, and I'm become friends with his wife and their daughter. Their daughter is the cashier at the hardware store. Oh. That's Alora. So she says, your dad got it, and she became SAG, and then when I explained all that, she said, I feel like my dad's still sending me gifts. That really got me, So they become a chosen family. So I think I think he would be happy. You know, I regret the reason I made this movie is because I never told him in real life what he meant to me, and I was consumed with regret. You know, and I said I don't know what to do with this. How did I not tell this person how they changed their small acts of kindness changed my life? So it was compulsive, really. You know, and I made the movie with everybody, and now I think I can let that go. I think he knows. You know, so.
I definitely think he knows. I mean, I feel like we all feel his love and kindness, and it's just exponential now. Please tell everyone where they can see it and when, and tell their friends and family.
Yes. So March 21st, LA and New York, and then we have select 25 or 30 extra cities after that on March 28th, and we'll keep expanding. And please follow all of us. We'll be posting a lot about it, and please tell your friends, because films, indie films like this, we really do kind of live or die on your word of mouth. So thank you so much, and thank you to Roadside Attractions.
Yes. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.